You're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra. Since 2024 is a general election year, we will not be seeing a full budget being laid on the floors of the Lok Sabha come 1st of February. Instead, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will be presenting an interim budget to tide over the national spending till a new government is formed in May 2024, which will then present the union budget for 24-25. Well, since this is just an interim budget, the Finance Ministry has not released the Economic Survey, a document that lists India's growth expectations for the upcoming year and informs the budget. Instead, the Finance Ministry has released an economic review mapping India's growth over the last 10 years. Over the next half an hour, we will be building up to the launch of the interim budget tomorrow, beginning with this deep dive into the details of the economic review penned by the Finance Secretary's office as well. And we'll talk to some people who understand and can comment on this space expertly. Professor Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian, with us on the program. Mr. Mohit Saxena, Assistant Director of Finance, Gus Global Services India, also with us on the show. Dr. P.S.V. Rao, Consultant Surgeon, Manipal Hospital. Akash Jindal, Senior Economist, also joins us on the program. Last but not the least, Mr. Satya Kumar, who is also a Senior Economist, joining us on the program. Professor Nalapat, I'll begin with you. Sir, we all know that this is going to be an interim budget, but the review that I just mentioned, it is going to be a comprehensive dossier of what this government has been able to achieve in the past 10 years, and it is no small feat. The kind of turnaround and transformation that we have seen in the last 10 years is, of course, not only spectacular, but at the same time commendable. But, that cannot be something that cannot be used as something that does not point out to the deficit that still exists when you talk about the economic policy of the country, especially when it comes to education, when it comes to health, when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to rural areas and the digitization and the last mile. All of these agendas are something that this government needs to grab on by the horns. But at the same time, there's been a loud cry over taxes. There's been a loud cry over tax brackets. Do you think that is something that will be coming about in what Nirmala Sitharaman is going to present in the Lok Sabha on the 1st of Feb, or do you think that there is perhaps time to that?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on what the Finance Minister is going to present, but I would like to say that over the last 10 years, and we, there have been several crises hitting the whole world, and also parts of India during that particular period. And yet we have weathered the storm quite well, and we are now entered into a period of if I may say so, high growth. So I think that is something that the whole country can take pride in. There's no question about that. But I think what is important in the presentation tomorrow is basically going to be the direction of policy, assuming that there is a continuity in policy. So I think the broad direction of policy will become clear from the Finance Minister's speech tomorrow. And in that, of course, taxes are going to play a role. I have long held the view that lower tax rates promote higher revenue, and a simpler system will promote more compliance. And I think we are seeing that, especially over the last 3 years or so, the systems have been made more simple, and a lot of taxes have been rationalized. So I think what is important will be to see what exactly, not just the achievements of the past 10 years, if I may say so, and whether one is liking the current dispensation or not. It has to be admitted that the country has gone through several very stormy seas in an extremely, if I may say so, in a stable manner, and has navigated those seas. What will be interesting is to see the vision for the future. And in that vision for the future, I think, we can look into what the government is planning if there is to be a hat trick in 2024.
Right. Mohit, what are the industry expectations from this budget? This is obviously an election year. Every year, there are speculations which, people definitely have of the government and the finance minister that we'll get into. But, as an election year, there has to be some noise made by the government as well. Do you think that's going to translate into what the finance minister is going to present on the 1st of Feb?
So basically, I think in terms of the expectation from the industry is expecting a lot from the government. But as we know that this will be an election year, and so I think government focus, maybe they are focusing on maybe some of the popular schemes through which they can basically attract the farmers or other sections of the society. But I think they need to invest into the industry, and education industry is the one they need to look into, because if India is going to be in the top three economies going forward, then they need to invest in the manpower, because we need skilled manpowers to basically serve the world, serve the nation, serve the country. And in education, in our education institutes, which we have like Pearl, UPS, where our target is to provide is to basically provide the skilled manpower to the industry. And in terms of that, I think industry is expecting a tax cut. Maybe that could be a great step. And we have seen this in 2007, 2008, when Manmohan Singh government announced a lot of they provided money into the hands of the people when they announced when they basically changed the salary structure of the government employees, and through that we are able to come out of the downward phenomena of the economy at that point of time. So government needs to look to provide money to the people, so that the industries, like they can invest the money in for health, for education, and for other sectors as well, like automobiles and other industries. Everyone can prosper if government decides to put money in the hand of the people. So they need to think about that.
All right, Mr. Rao, what are your expectations of the budget, sir? Off late, there has been a lot of impetus which is being laid towards promoting technology, promoting artificial intelligence, promoting, indigenization of everything that we have depended on, from the outside world, be it our defense, be it our own capabilities, be it hospital equipment as well, for which we have depended on foreign countries for a long time. Do you think that with that push in mind, the government is going to be a lot more excited, because that is something which will also generate employment, something that the government has been targeted over?
Good evening, Vineet, the panelists and viewers. Yes, see, the government has already been pushing industry with the PLI, the production linked incentives. It has brought down the bad debts in the various banks so that they can finance the industries. This is through the NCLT, etc. So some of the foundation work has already been done, plus they brought down the corporate tax. These have already been fueling the industry. And you saw that in the some of the earlier years, the private industry was hesitating to invest. Now they are also investing. What I expect in this budget is a further push on infrastructure development, because infrastructure is required not only for the industry, it is also required for the service industry and for the agriculture industry, because telecom, transport, all these things are required. And when you push the infrastructure industries, you also push cement production, steel production, and various other metals and minerals, which are all required for these things. And as far as services are concerned, we have always talked only about IT. But what about pushing tourism, which will improve transport, it will improve the businesses for the hotels, etc. The prime example of it is Modi visiting Lakshadweep. He's visiting temple tourism. He's pushing all kinds of things for tourism. And as far as health tourism is concerned, there is a lot of improvement going on. And after the COVID performance of India, the world is looking at us as a greater source of health tourism. And education and skills are also being pushed by this government. So these are all measures being taken. And direct benefit to the individuals, and to all these schemes for women. You imagine what will happen to the economy when half the population, that is women, come into the economy. And the digitization has pushed, included a lot of the gray economy into the main economy, digitization and GST. This, I won't be surprised if our growth is even more than 7% that they are expecting. So these are all things which are being done. And as far as the budget is concerned, other than raise in customs taxes, I would expect that maybe there is further simplification of personal taxes. They have already brought in presumptive tax. They have also simplified the tax slabs. There may be further improvement in that. The idea being to put money in the hands of the people of India. We form 1/6 the population of the world, which means we are 1/6 the consumers of the world. You just imagine when the Indian consumers, their aspirations are already up, you improve their financial status, you just imagine what a market it will be for all these goods. So you are improving the supply, you are also improving the consumption. So this will all boost the economy tremendously. And agriculture is something which hasn't been growing enough. Now, with improvement in infrastructure, in cold storages, in energy supply to these cold storages, and food processing, this will be a huge impetus to our economic growth. And we will become a major, we are already exporting agricultural products, but we may become a huge exporter of agricultural products thanks to all the wars which are going all over the place, including in Ukraine and other places. So even if the world economy is down, food consumption can't go down, health services can't be ignored, and educational services can't be ignored. These are all things in which our economy is going to explode, and the budget will be towards all those things. I am very confident that in the next 5 years, why is 5 trillion? We may be crossing much more than that, the way we are going. This is all the right steps have been taken, and we are going forward. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Satya Kumar. Your expectation of the budget, obviously a number of sectors that continue to push for reforms are going to be, looking at this, with renewed interest and hope. But, everybody cannot be pleased in 1 year. From what you have seen in the last few years, what are the areas that, the finance minister categorically needs to focus on? The space sector has been vying, for some sort of regulation as well as help. The infrastructure sector, the real estate sector has also been asking, for a lot of help. Tourism and the tourism sector has been looking towards the government to do their bit. Of course, the Ayodhya temple definitely helps, but that's not going to be the crux of it. What, in your expert opinion, is supposed to be done so that you can't please everyone, but you can at least try to put a smile on their faces?
Definitely. If you see the current budget, this is the budget that is forthcoming before the elections, Lok Sabha elections. Considering it, the government idea will be definitely to touch the masses. So people are talking about tourism, people are talking about infrastructure. These are all the sectors which will be focused maybe probably after the election, maybe the first year of budget post-election or second year of the budget post-election. But if you see the trend of the Modi government, since 2013 when he came to the power, always the fifth year before the budget, before the elections, always the budget was focused on the masses. So now when I say masses, what is the sector that is going to be impacted? Take it from me, it's going to be agriculture sector. Because last budget before the election, if you see Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi introduced a Kisan Samman Yojana, where he actually provided direct benefit transfer to the farmers, where he promised one installment before the elections and one more installment after the election, and he has fulfilled that aspiration of the farmers. So if you look at the Indian Economic Review that is published by the Chief Economic Advisor as well, we can see a lot of message from that wherein they have clearly said nearly 51 crore households have direct benefit transfer program, that is Jan Dhan Yojana. So 51 crore household, that means out of 130 crore population, if you take the families, that means every family is connected to Jan Dhan Yojana. That means India is 100% is under the financial inclusion program of the government. That means the budget is going to be focused on the masses, where the priority could be the agriculture sector, 2, the youth empowerment, 3, women-led development, 4 will be the skill sector. These 4 sector will be focused by the government, because we know very well the date of presenting the budget has undergone a change after Modi came to power. And the date of budget was changed because before the election, generally the trend of the previous governments were to come out with the vote on account. But now, in the name of interim budget, there's going to be a lot of schemes that's going to be introduced, which will be useful for the masses. You may say that this is before election. That is the reason it's going to be focused on the masses. Definitely, any government which is having an aspiration to form the government will definitely use an opportunity of introducing a good social programs or good schemes to attract and also satisfy the aspiration of the masses. So my prediction or my understanding of this budget could be it's going to be an agricultural budget focusing on the masses and transformation of the agriculture sector.
Professor Nalapat, do you concur with that? Obviously, there is also this impetus by this government to look at resources and how to strategically distribute them, through a digital infrastructure. Do you think that agriculture can also be a part of this gamut?
I fully agree that agriculture is going to be an even more important part of this particular gamut, for a simple reason that employment is a high priority for this government. Youth employment particularly is a very high priority. Women's welfare is a very high priority. And I would only like to stress 2 or 3 things. One is, for example, you have seen the Padma Bhushan given to the head of Foxconn in Taiwan. That's a very, very important signal. It means that there is a very strong drive to get high-tech industry in Taiwan and of course, the few other high-tech centers outside the gamut of countries that are hostile to India, to come to India. I think it's an extremely diplomatic move, which has got profound business implications. So we are seeing, as you said, as has correctly been said, the digital economy is definitely going to be strengthened. The direct payment system is definitely going to be strengthened. And the fact is that today, India is losing money because of the fact that so many people are going abroad for education. There is certain to be an effort to make sure that instead of being a net deficit country where education is concerned, India becomes a net surplus country, as it is, for example, in health. India, a large number of individuals come to India for health because the quality is very high and the costs are relatively much lower than in various other sectors. So yes, I would fully agree that this is going to be, this is part of the ongoing transformation over 3 or 4 years of basically rationalization, simplification, and if I may say so, making it taxpayer friendly, making it business friendly, making it people friendly. I think that push has been very clear for the last 3 or 4 years. And what we are going to see is a clear signal that all these methods, all these measures are going to continue over the next 3 or 4 years as well, depending, of course, on how the election goes.
Right, absolutely. And Mohit, there have been calls in terms of rationalization of the tax structure as well. The GST, is also up for a reform, and MSMEs are the ones that have been reeling under this lack of uniformity the most. So if we want to have that all-inclusive growth, do you think that the government also needs to be focused on that? There have been suggestions coming in that companies, MSMEs that do not make more than 2 crores a year, they should be exempt from GST.
So in terms of GST, I think government has done a very, very good step. I think last 2-3 years they have done the automations. Now, earlier there was a concern from the government side. There was a revenue leakage in GST, and we have seen our GST turnover has been double over I think from last 1 year it has been double now, and the reason is that now the entities are required to generate the invoices from the portal, and due to this thing we have seen the numbers are going up and up. And I think so if you it's like a cycle. So if you take out anyone from that cycle, then cycle will get broken, and that there is a chances that revenue leakage will get increased. So I think government intention is quite clear. They wanted to include each and everyone into that cycle, and I'm not going to see any changes in terms of the 2 crore GST limit, exemption limit. We are not going to see. But indirect taxation, government is doing a great job, and I think we will be able to see more and more technological changes going forward.
Dr. Rao, what about localization, indigenization, vocal for local? Is that also a parameter that is going to define the economic prudence that this government is likely to exercise? Obviously, in the last few days, we've seen the push for going domestic all the way, becoming an exporter rather than an importer.
Yes, definitely. See, the basic principle on which Modi and his government are working is that if we have 1/6 the market consumers of the world, let us improve their strength and let us give them high quality industrial and other output, agricultural output at a low cost. And once you have that kind of a consumption, you will also be able to export to the rest of the world and compete with all others in providing high quality, low cost items for export. And in services, we have already been a world beater in IT. And like Professor Nalapat correctly said, this government is trying to become industry friendly, business friendly, person friendly, I mean, to all the people of this country. And it is also trying to supply the rest of the world and say we are friendly towards the rest of the world. We can not only supply you vaccines, we can supply you food, we can supply you disaster relief, we can supply you various other things. And the soft power of disaster relief, the global alliance we have created, the global alliance on solar energy and renewable energy, the push towards biofuels, the nuclear energy. They have already announced that there will be a nuclear plant every year. All these things are going to contribute. You just imagine, Modi ji has been talking about a global alliance where wherever the sun is, whichever part of the world, energy produced from there will be transferred to places which are in the dark. He is literally recreating the British Empire in a very different way. It is an empire of alternative energy. So these are all visionary things. And Modi has always been a lambe race ka ghoda. He always thinks way ahead. Plus, for this election, there will be things which will attract the huge
You're
population which is
absolutely right, Dr. Rao. In fact, we've run out of time as well. I'm going to take one last question from Professor Nalapat. Professor Nalapat, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, said that why they choose China is not because of the low cost of manufacturing. It's the skill that the people in China possess, and that is the reason why Apple has been able to roll out most of its manufacturing units from China. In that direction, where do we stand, and what more can be done in terms of upscaling that skill level?
I'd like to say that Tim Cook will probably understand this, and that is that high tech remaining and getting produced in China. What they'll be doing is essentially ensuring that the Chinese companies will compete with them and basically defeat them tomorrow or day after. So decoupling is going to be a fact of life. As far as the Indian worker is concerned, a huge number of vocational programs have been introduced. in the past 3 years. And I think this is only going to multiply. And the second point about the Indian worker is, even if the very, very quick to learn. So in about 3 months to 6 months of on-the-job training, the Indian worker in 3 months becomes as good as the Chinese worker, and in 6 months of on-the-job, better than the Chinese worker. So I think Tim Cook needs to have a little bit of patience for 6 months, because in India, I just want to say, Vineet, that people say that you go to China, it's heaven at first and hell afterwards. In India, it's difficult at first, but it's heaven afterwards. So Tim Cook, have some patience.
All right, so on that note, we're going to wrap up this show, and you have ended it spectacularly with that closing thought of yours. We'd like to thank all my guests for being a part of this conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.